It's good to be in control, is it not? Which one of us likes to be out of control? Okay, I know, sometimes I do, but which one of us likes to be out of control? You like to be out of control, Dave? Sometimes? Sometimes, amen. It's good to be young, isn't it? But seriously, we all like to be in control, do we not? It's good to have everything in order, right, Dave? Do you like having everything in order?
I'm Morgan.
What's that? Oh, Morgan, did I call you Dave? Did I call you Morgan? No.
No.
Good, okay. Well, Morgan, how are you doing this morning? Do you like having everything in order? Yeah? How about your bedroom? How about your bedroom?
That's in our room.
Right, but it's good to have everything in order in our lives. Maybe not our rooms, but in our lives. It's good to know the important details of who, what, when, where, why, how. We strive so much to be in control of so many different things. From driving, to getting to work on time, to having things happen how we want them to, when we want them to, and keeping things as familiar and as comfortable as possible. No one likes a good surprise. Maybe apart from the occasional surprise party, right? And even then, that throws us for a loop when it happens. Like, why didn't you tell me? Well, of course, you weren't going to tell me about a surprise party, right, Brandon? Did you have a surprise party? No? Okay. Oh, so you knew the party was coming? Okay. Well, that's not a bad thing, right? Weren't you kind of anticipating that party coming? Wouldn't it have been kind of like, up until the party happening, wouldn't you have been kind of sad if you didn't think one was coming? Yeah, we like to be in control, right? We like to have that control. Trying to change something, in keeping as familiar and as comfortable as possible, we try to avoid any sort of change. Trying to change something or doing something differently in the church can be seen as a good example of what I'm talking about here. Just try to change anything in the church. We will see how much control people like to have, how much comfort people want to have. Any institution doesn't like change. And families, people in and of themselves are an institution, right? So you have the institution of the person, then the institution of the family, then we just keep building upon our institutions, but we don't like change. I see people latching onto control all the time. I see them grieving the loss of that control every day. Let me tell you, for those of you that don't know, and I would imagine most, if not all of you do know, I work in a continuing care retirement community, which has independent living, has assisted living, has memory support, and it also has health care. And let me tell you that in such a community, I can see people grieving the loss of control every single day. The older we get, the more physically limited we become, the less and less control we start having over our lives. Now, the independent residents, they know that at some point, when you move into a community like that, you know at some point you're going to be heading toward the assisted living area and then possibly toward health care. And it is amazing to see how people react to that sense of loss. At one time, when we were younger, eating at 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, 9, 10 at night even, if we feel it, wasn't such a big deal. But to people in that setting, if dinner's at 5:01, my goodness, like you're late, because it's the one thing they can control. They can control the time, or so they think. People do not like to lose control, and when they do lose control, they try to grasp it in whatever areas they can. But when life seems out of control, and we start to depend on others to order and control our lives, then all of a sudden, things change for us. How often We put our hope in what we feel we can control. Right? How many of you think you're good drivers? How many of you put your hope in the fact that you're a good driver? Let me tell you, I can't drive you with my wife.
That is my control.
Yes, and every so often I have to be like, Bernie, you're about to go into the median. You know, like, Bernie, get off of the curb. You know, move over into the road. But then that's my sense of control, is it not? Like, oh my God, I'm not behind the wheel. What am I doing? We all like to have that control. We all put our hope in the control that we think we have. If we can see it, we can smell it, we can taste it, we can feel it, we can hear it, we can hope in it, right? And if we can't, then it isn't worth hoping in. Now this may sound extreme, but when you really think about it, that's the way we operate in our lives. You may object and say, but we hope in God. I don't see, taste, hear, smell, or feel God. Well, feeling's a little different, but we have hope in God. But don't we try to control God as well? Don't we find ourselves in a place where we want to control God, and we even think we can control God? Thank you, Martin. And I called you the right name this time. I can't control what I call you. I try. I do. I do that to my daughters, too. You know, I call Lori and Katie all the time. The church is great at controlling God, or trying to. We may not be able to see God, but we can see the Bible and run with our interpretation of it, right? We may hear God calling us in this direction, but God will call us over here because we've never done it that way before, right? We try to keep God in our pocket as well. The problem is we can't keep God in our pocket. No one can. That's right. It's hard to fit God in your pocket. You have to have a big pocket to fit God in there. We may not be able to hear God, but so long as the minister or the lay leader say something we agree with, they're people of God, right? How often do we see that scenario unfold? He said what? She said what? That can't be what God said. God would never say something like that. We try to even control God. But we cannot, as Morgan so rightly and Maeve so rightly pointed out, we cannot control God. And when it comes down to it, we really can't control anything, can we? What do we have control over?
Ourselves?
Do we?
Yeah.
Do you pick up your room?
Sometimes.
Why not all the time, if you can control it? But can you control that? You can try, right? But sometimes you do forget, right? You're not doing it on purpose, are you? Sometimes situations come up and you meant to do it, but you didn't. Can we control it? Sister's getting involved now. Oh, wait a second. I'll tell you how it really is. Can you control your sister from telling you how it really is? No. Right. The fact is, we try to control things. How many of us can control our driving? Now, Mike's raising his hand. I got it. I got it down. How many of you can control other people's driving? Right? You know, we can drive down the road just fine. We can fly a plane over the Ukraine and make it safely, but we can't control the people on the ground who are shooting missiles at us. Right? We can control only so much, and even what we can control, we really have no control. We think we have it, but here's the truth, people. Control is an illusion. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. No matter how much we try to control things, we don't. And it's when we think we can control things that we become humbled and realize that control is really spinning out of control. And we really can't control anything at all. We try, but we ultimately fail. that it's going to happen because I'm controlling it, right? If I can see something, I don't really have to hope or have faith in it because I can see it. I don't have hope that Mike is sitting in the third pew on my right-hand side. He is sitting in the third pew. I don't have to have hope that Clafferty's looking in his direction. I see that. It's happening. I don't have to have hope that Morgan is holding something pink with black eyes, like a Hello Kitty thing. Oh, see, I can see that. But the things that I can't see, now that I have to hope in. Why bother clutching on to a false hope? That's why I find it so sad when people try to prove God. There's a movie just released not that long ago. It was a fairly entertaining movie, being what it was, called God Is Not Dead. And the whole point was the boy goes into a classroom and the professor says, you have to, in order to take this class, you need to sign this waiver saying that God is dead, and then we can just skip that topic and move on to cooler things in philosophy. And the boy refuses to do it because he thinks, though he admits it at the beginning of the film he can't do it, he really thinks he can prove that God exists. Can we? We've been trying to prove God exists since God existed. Even in the Bible it says, the fool says in his or her heart, there is no God. So even in that time period, there were people going, there is no God. If they couldn't prove it, if Anselm couldn't prove it, if Augustine couldn't prove it, if Thomas Aquinas couldn't prove it, what makes us think we can prove it? And it also makes me equally sad when people try to disprove God. The opposite of proving, right? To disprove. Because science shows us, what science really show us? Tells us what? Tells us when? Tells us how, maybe. But does it answer why? No. It's sad because, again, there's something we're trying to control. But we don't need faith and hope. If I can prove that I'm going to get to work on time and I'm going to get there safely, I don't have to hope in that, do I? If I could prove that I can drive 150 miles an hour down 287 without getting into an accident, would I have to hope that I'd get there safely?
Yes.
And that's because I can't prove it, right? Rather than placing our hope in the hopeless, we're called to place it in God. We don't need to prove God. We just need to hope in God. We need to place it in God, not in our understanding of God, not in what we think God is, but in God. We have no control. It is an illusion. But God has control. Can we prove it? Absolutely not. Put your faith in it. Have hope in it. See that control order your life in a way you never expected. If you're going to be out of control, then be out of control with style. Right? If you're going to have no control, then be control-less with style and with grace. Put your faith in God who will order your life in a way you never planned. Make your plan to not have a plan, but to let God's plan take place. Place your hope in God, not in your understanding of God, but in the God that is beyond your understanding. Be carried by that hope. Leave yourself open to be pulled in directions you have never, ever imagined. We talked about that at Bible study this morning. It's not often that my Bible study matches my sermon, but the fact is, we come to the table and we often say, I can't, but really what I can't translates to is I won't. I won't do that. But we can do it. In God, all things are possible. If we just put our hope in what God is calling us to do, we can and we will do it. So don't mask I can't, or don't mask I won't with I can't. We can and we will. Be open to the doors of change and trust, rather hope, that God will carry you through. Because if God isn't carrying us through, my friends, then we really have something to fear. Because we know we can't carry ourselves. Every day we wake up, not to be morbid, but every day we wake up could be our last day. Every day we breathe in breath. We are breathing in the gift of life, and that gift of life is out of our control. But it's not out of God's. Breathe. Be thankful. And place your hope in the one thing that can and will and does carry you through. Amen. Gracious and loving God, we are challenged by this message today because we are a people who love control, a people who idolatrize control. Lord, you have asked us to give up our control, or the illusion of it, and place our hope and trust in you. Lord, that's not always an easy thing. And no matter how dependent we are on you, sometimes we think of ourselves as independent. Free us from that thought. Free us from the bonds of independence. And let us have the freedom that comes with dependence on you. In Jesus' name we pray.